That you took the time to tune in to today's episode of the Kim Jacobs Show. Listen, we have a great show lined up for you. I'm your host, Kim Jacobs, better known as the Balance Doctor.
Hello, everyone.
And all of our guests that come on, they're either people that have overcome some tremendous odds in their own lives as they balance this thing called life, or they're experts and they're here to share tips and strategies that will help you better balance and manage your life. Grab your virtual seats and let's get ready for some real, relevant, and relatable content on today's episode of the Kim Jacobs Show. Everyone, welcome to this episode of the Kim Jacobs Show. How are you, Rebecca, over there?
Oh, doing well. Thanks so much for having me today.
Thank you so much for being here today. And I feel like we're in our own club together, even though it's not necessarily a club people be like, oh, sign me up for, right? But we are in the club together of being cystic fibrosis moms, right?
That's right.
And I am so honored to have Rebecca here today here on the Kim Jacobs Show. And I want you all to hurry up and grab your virtual seats. Type your comments, and also know that throughout the broadcast today, if you have questions, I'm going to pop this link right here in the comment section. All you have to do is copy and paste, and it will bring you into our broadcast. So if you want to ask a direct question, you would like to come into the show itself, feel free to use that link, and it'll bring you right into the broadcast. And today we're going to be talking about cystic fibrosis awareness and how to balance life if you're the mother of a child that battles that disease, cystic fibrosis. And so we're here talking today, and you were referred over by someone that we both find very dear to our hearts, and that's the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and right here in the Charlotte and surrounding areas. And Stephanie, we love her. So we're so happy.
We do.
Yeah, she's the best. She's the best, right?
She absolutely is. She does more than she realizes to support this incredible effort and all the families in this area. She's amazing.
She really is. But everyone that I've encountered with the CF Foundation has been nothing short of amazing. And you can tell the passion that exudes from their pores about being able to find a cure and to be able to provide the longevity that life can bring from all that's been poured in through their research and development, and the physicians and everybody that I've met has been incredible, you know?
True. Yeah. They're all, it's funny. They're all working themselves out of a job. They want to know the day that they, we can say that we have cured cystic fibrosis. They're really all working for that day. And, that's such a selfless act of effort, right? That they are working themselves out of a job. So
that's a good way to work
for what they're trying to do.
Right. That's a good way to work yourself out of a job. And we'll all honor and salute them on that day and say, happy retirement, right? Go.
What a legacy you've left. Exactly.
Yes. Well, Rebecca is fortunate to be married to a truly incredible man. And I know him to be Joe as her husband. She's also the mom of two amazing kids, Caroline and Baker, who both have special needs. We're going to be talking about that more throughout today's discussion. And she also has run a successful business for the last 18 years. All of those details we're going to learn more about as we get to learn more about Rebecca Lewis today. So I'm not going to read everything because then that's going to take away from some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about throughout today's discussion. But I would like to welcome you here to the Kim Jacobs Show, Rebecca.
Thanks. It's really an honor to be here. And thank you so much for just having this time to bring awareness and to share about our lives, right, as parents of kids with CF.
Yes, I'm excited because we're both smiling. And so that's a good thing, because hopefully as people are tuning in today, you'll understand one of the takeaways is that just because you have a child that deals with special needs does not mean that it's like humdrum and life has come to an end and all. That's not my story at all.
Right. Yeah, no, not ours either. We really decided that, you have to make a choice about that. You have to decide. And I think, it's easy to say that we made that choice. We decided to be very active and to really, it was really self-preservation to throw everything we could at
Yes,
solving this problem as best we could, and to just know that we had done everything that we could do for our
that's right.
daughter. And I think every parent, I mean, most parents want that. They want to just give everything they can to their kids to set them up for success in life. And that's
That's
just
right.
simply what we do.
And that's regardless of whether there are special needs or
Yes.
no special needs, in particular, just special children, because in my opinion, all children are special to their parents.
Yeah.
And so they all have their own individual special needs, regardless of whether it's a disease state or not, you know?
Right.
And so today, though, we're going to be talking about cystic fibrosis awareness and what it means, how people are impacted by it. Just in a nutshell, if you would tell people what cystic fibrosis is from your perspective.
Sure. Cystic fibrosis is a genetic disease. So Joe and I both had the genes for CF, unbeknownst to us. Um,
Mhm.
and it's a chronic lung disease for the most part, but it really impacts every major system of the body.
Yes.
Digestion. It can, of course, the respiratory system. It can impact reproductive system. Your pancreatic, and all the systems in the body have some interaction with the fact that cystic fibrosis really is, inability for the cells in the body to
Yes.
retain salt and to function properly. So it builds up thick, sticky mucus throughout the body that almost acts like flypaper in the lungs, or doesn't
Right.
allow things to process correctly through the other systems of the body, and it causes a lot of issues along the way. And so it is a lifelong disease. There's no cure at the moment. There are some really wonderful therapies,
Yeah.
but we just won't stop until it's done, until this disease is no longer in play for all kids, because there are many variations of this disease.
Yeah.
There is the one that 90% of the kids have, and then there's this 10% of kids that don't have this standard genetic variation. And
Right.
in it until it's done for all children with cystic fibrosis. And I think that the community is really powerfully aligned around that. And if I were a parent in that minority of 10%, I would want to hear that from, other parents who have the blessing, I guess, of having the more standard gene type that is
Right.
mostly addressed. So,
Well, I know with my children, they are more impacted with respiratory type of
yeah,
cystic fibrosis. So there are different things that are impacted depending upon the type of CF that your particular child may have. And so in our case, we both were carriers of the gene as well. Their father and myself, we, unbeknownst to us, same thing. We didn't,
yeah,
I had never even heard of cystic fibrosis, Rebecca. I don't know, and maybe you have, but I had never even heard of it until one of my children got diagnosed. My daughter got diagnosed, Jayla, at the age of 5 years old. And so we were like, we thought it was esophageal esophagitis. She was having GERD, projectile vomiting, but it was this real sticky substance that was almost like an alien kind of substance. I was like, what is this? And then
sure,
she was real, her eyes were really sunken in, and she developed pneumonia and was hospitalized. And when that happened, they said that she had some permanent lung damage. And we were like, permanent lung damage from what?
right.
They ultimately did the sweat test, which is how you can determine if a person has cystic fibrosis, and was discovered that she had cystic fibrosis and was not diagnosed at birth. She was diagnosed at the age of 5.
Wow, wow, that's really crazy to you had to go that long, in
Mhm.
this day and time to find that out.
And
Yeah,
that
and
in
then
go, you
and
say
then
what you.
did that mean that you then tested your other children as well?
No, not at that
Oh,
time. We
okay,
actually didn't. Now, look, now the interview is going like this.
sorry.
Here, look. So we're going to be interviewing each other technically. So I'm over in the guest seat right now. No, I did not. I didn't get the other children tested, but we were so grateful to know why she was projectile vomiting like 8 to 10 times a day and not understanding what the rationale was behind it. I think once we came into the knowledge of the truth, we were able to walk in that knowledge. And so we started sending her to school with a canister and making sure that she had the shaky treatments. And Levine's Children's Hospital, the specialty, all of the physicians, Dr. Champion, Dr. Chada, Dr. Shellhouse, all of them, they rallied to provide her with the care that she needed. And it changed her life for the better, you
Sure,
know. But the
yeah,
rest of my other two children that have also been diagnosed, didn't get diagnosed until they were 13 and 17.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
But they had mostly been healthy up until that point, or could you in hindsight have seen or could you see in hindsight some of the things?
Now hindsight, yeah, some of the
Yeah.
things like my son would get bronchitis every year and we would go to urgent care, they would give him antibiotics. I was
Mhm.
like, this is just not right, but never thought it was cystic fibrosis, just thought
Sure.
he was just winter cold or fall the weather changing or whatever is what we were thinking, you
Right,
know?
right.
Now
Yeah.
how about Caroline when she was diagnosed? When was it at birth? Because you said
Yeah.
13.
Well, not at, I guess not technically at birth. I mean, within 10 days. So it was really one of those crazy things. So she's the second, right? So had her really easy childbirth and everything. And
Mhm.
she, came out kicking and screaming. And the nurse said, well, this is the first perfect 10 I've given on the APGAR score, the score they rate newborns by the moment
Okay.
they're out in the world. The first perfect 10 I've given in like 16 years. This baby is as
Wow.
healthy as they come. And we were like, two like A-type parents. We're like, yes, we did it. And
Yeah.
so we go home and we're just, in this newborn, just high, I guess, of just having this new baby. And we find out 10 days later, we get a call from our pediatrician that Caroline's newborn screening has come back and she's tested positive for CF. And I just said to her, what's CF? And she goes, well, cystic fibrosis. And I was like, oh my gosh, well, my grandmother, when I was probably in middle school, gave me a book by Frank DeFord called
Okay.
Alex, the Life of a Child. And I read that book and I remember being just absolutely shocked by it.
Mm.
And it was all about his daughter, Alex, who had cystic fibrosis. And at that point, this was probably in the 60s or 70s.
Right.
The treatments were, nothing short of just, beating on your child every day, trying to loosen that mucus. And there's nothing else. And so I just remember reading that book. And in that moment when she said that, I thought, well, that's not good. And then I just went to find Joe and I said, the pediatrician just called and she said, Caroline has cystic fibrosis. And then I told him what it
Mhm.
was again. And I said, I don't think this is very good. And he's like, well, why don't we go in and talk to her? And I was like, you go.
Right, you go ahead.
Here's Caroline, you go.
Right.
I think at the time he was taking Baker in anyway for something. And I just talked to her and figure out what we need to do. And that just started us down the path. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, we everything at birth was perfect. And so it was
Wow.
a real shocker to us that we had cystic fibrosis. And then when we found out that, told my grandfather who was alive at the time, and he said, oh, well, so-and-so's, some cousin's daughter had that, but she grew out of it. And I thought,
Yeah,
well, you don't grow
I've
out
heard
of
that.
it.
I've heard that a lot. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of education, I think, and this cousin's daughter has been pretty healthy with cystic fibrosis,
Mhm.
but so but we don't know anywhere on my husband's side of the family, other than kind of looking at the family tree and seeing some earlier passings of people that could
Right,
be indicators of because there was a long time that kids with CF didn't make it to age 5,
right.
and so we're so fortunate now that their average lifespan is into the 50s.
The
It's a
50s and
miracle.
60s, right. Well, it
Yeah.
depends, yeah. And like sometimes even when you have children that are adult children, like my son now is 22 years old and he battles this whole cystic fibrosis, it can make them think differently. And sometimes we don't always, as parents, even understand how they think. So like he feels like technically like he's middle age, if that makes sense. He's in his midlife crisis type of
Oh,
situation, even though he's only in his 20s.
yeah, yeah,
And I know I say that just in a quick way, but really that was like interesting to hear his philosophy that at
yeah,
20 something years old, you feel like your life is possibly halfway at the halfway mark.
right.
And
Yeah.
that's enlightening to say the least, you know?
Yeah, I think the kids with CF, they have a real I don't know, they seem to have a wisdom,
Mm.
sometimes around their disease that, puts things in perspective
Yeah.
in a very interesting way at a very early age, and
Yes,
yeah,
that's very true. But
and it
I also remind my son, and I'm sure any others that's watching, that none of us know the day nor the hour that we're going to transition from this earth, and we all will be transitioning, whether it's from something that's CF related or anything.
right,
So just fill in the blank, because life is going to come ultimately to an end on this earth. That's why I believe you need to have some type of higher power or source that you connect to, so
right,
that you know what's going to happen in your afterlife. And so that, that's just my own personal philosophy. But hey, somebody says, hey, wise beyond. Oh, Stephanie's on. She said, wise beyond their years. And Stephanie, make sure you share this broadcast and invite others to be a part of today's discussion. Everybody, we're talking with Rebecca Lewis today. We're going to take a commercial break and come back and learn more about her personal journey as a mom with a daughter with cystic fibrosis and a son that also has special needs. What are his special needs when we come back right after this break? We'll be right back.
I'm attorney Charles Everidge. I started out representing insurance companies until my father was seriously injured at work. 4 of his fingers were amputated. Our family went through a lot, so I know what you're going through as an injured worker. If you've been hurt on the job, call me now. I'll fight to get the workers' comp benefits you may deserve. I'll fight for you like family. Put my experience to work for you. Call 704-457-5000, the first call for injured workers.
Right, everyone, we're back and we're talking with Rebecca Lewis, and we're bringing awareness to the disease, cystic fibrosis. For those that are just tuning in, it's a a disease that fills the lining of your lungs, that is filled with mucus and a sticky kind of substance that prevents sometimes breathing to be really a smooth process. Usually, there are about 30,000 or so people that are affected with this particular disease. And the goal is to be able to provide airway clearance. And the way that that happens is through shaky vests that you put on and shake the lungs to be able to get some level of breathing a little more freely through the patient that suffers with cystic fibrosis. But Rebecca Lewis's mom here, and she has her daughter Caroline, who lives with this disease. But you also have a son, Baker, and he also has special needs. Tell us about him for a moment.
Oh, well, Baker's 19 months older than Caroline, and I think he technically is a kid that's considered 2E. He's got which is a combination of twice exceptional I guess abilities in
Oh, wow.
that he's a super smart kid, but he has a lot of compounding factors to that, where
Okay.
his attention deficit, just really hard time focusing, and then also dysgraphia, which is a written expression disorder. So he struggles to, while he is an amazing orator, he really struggles to express himself in writing, which is
Okay.
clearly a huge challenge in school. And then he's just a kid that just needs a lot of support in order to be successful in academic environment. And
Okay.
so we, manage that. He's a great big brother, loves his sister so much. But I think CF even, creates some issues for siblings sometimes.
Yes,
And,
big time.
the CF kids get a lot of our attention for various reasons.
Of
And
course.
I think that has always been a little, when I think about the fact that he, doesn't have the attention to give things. Sometimes I wonder if we haven't sometimes given him as much attention as he needed along the
Interesting.
way. But
Yeah.
I don't know. So
That's a good way of even wording it, because anytime with Jayla, for example, with us finding out first that she was diagnosed with cystic
mhm,
fibrosis, all effort was put on her. So we all
right,
rallied around her. Do we get the bag? Do we get this? So we made sure that everything that she needed was provided for. And sometimes, like you say, the other children, in my case, I have 4 other children that I had to determine, are they getting everything that they need as
right.
from me as a mom too? What advice would you give moms that have children that have special needs to be able to still also focus on the other ones properly too? What's your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I just think I'm a big believer of meeting kids where they are and to really realize what they need and to
Yeah,
adjust to that, and not to let any person or system tell you otherwise. Because
yeah,
I think that you, as the mom and the parent, are uniquely gifted with the ability to understand your children and to do what they need you to do, and to provide and support them in the ways that they need. And I just think there are a lot of things that tell us differently these days. And I just really think that our kids need us to be their biggest champions and
That's
to
good.
support them and meet them where they are, not to give them everything and not to, certainly not to do everything for them, but to equip them to go forward as capable humans. But that looks different for every child, I
I
think.
agree. I actually, in a book that I wrote, is called Extreme Balance Makeover, and it's about how people balance different aspects of their lives. And it was when I was the NBC expert teaching people all of these tips every week. So I compiled all of those tips and put them in a book.
Oh,
And
cool.
one of the things that I talk about is individualized family plan, how important it is to customize your plan per child because each person has a different need. And so I over the years, I've always had the philosophy, what is it that's the area that you're struggling with that I can see maybe confidence is something that you're lacking as an example. Then really designing something and focusing some specific efforts and resources towards helping that child get better in that particular area. So, keeping in mind that everybody's different, but each person's needs are still important. How do we serve that child in that capacity? So, I encourage any parents that are watching today to identify what each of your children individually need and to focus on those areas specifically, you know?
Right, right. And just be willing. I mean, I think everybody's level of comfort around sacrificing for your kids is different,
Mhm.
but I think everybody does what they can
Right.
within the gifts they're given. But I think that being willing to just go the extra mile for your kids is probably the greatest gift you can ever give them.
Absolutely. So now let's see. I see I have some pictures here. Tell us some things that's going on in some of these photos.
Yeah, so this is Caroline, and so we really, got involved really early on when she was 6 months old in the Extreme Hike for the Cure, which is for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. It's designed to raise funds and build awareness about
Mhm.
cystic fibrosis. And so there is a spring and a fall extreme hike, and when I say extreme, it is 30 miles in one day on the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah, I was gonna say when
um,
when you say extreme, it's really extreme, literally, y'all.
It is, and there are some amazingly dedicated people that do it every time. And so Joe really got involved with it early on. We this is where when we both did the extreme hike together, and just we said we're going to do this, and so we both got on the trail that year, and our kids saw us really putting our feet, when people say put your money where your mouth is, we put
Yeah.
our feet where our beliefs were, in that we were
Right.
going to both hike to cure CF. And it's just tremendous what this crowd does. And there's so many events like the extreme hike that help to build funds and awareness for cystic fibrosis research.
Right.
Yeah, research is really important to fuel the science behind the cure, and we won't get to a cure until the science really gets us there.
Right.
So that's why raising funds is so important. And it's not a disease that receives any federal funding, so it's all on the families, the friends, the caregivers, all the people that just want to jump in and support in
Yes.
so many ways to help bring this to closure for our kids. And we're very just tremendously grateful to everybody who does that.
Well, I actually we go hiking often, even though it may not look like it, but I do go hiking very often. And when we do that, we always run into someone that's training or preparing for the extreme hike. So
Oh,
we
cool.
actually ran into the what they got the glam or the Graham Awards, the Grammy.
Oh,
It was these
uh-huh.
grandparents that had received the award from the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation at our last award ceremony
Oh,
and they
sure.
were out training. And I was
Yeah.
like, "Hey, don't I know you?" They were like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, we remember you from the award ceremony."
Yeah. Is
And
that Mike and Lori Wolf?
yes, yes.
Yes.
And in the meanwhile, I was like, I'm over there panting. I have one child waiting back with me while we're doing the hike, and they're just like going and they're hustling and an older seasoned couple and they're
Yeah.
taking it, they're
They're
doing
in their
it.
60s and they're hiking 30 miles in a day. They are amazing. And they really,
Yes.
we have another person who's 70 in his 70s who hikes. I mean, and the people who get on the trail, yeah, some look like they, can hike 30 miles no
Right.
problem, and others are, just mentally are dedicated to doing it and getting
Yeah.
it done. And I think it's takes all kinds to do
And
it.
I want to make sure too, if anybody is interested, and Stephanie, with you being on, if you put the link in the comment section, that'd be wonderful. So that people know how they can participate in these extreme hikes that are
Yeah.
available. And some people love signing up for these, and it helps with research and development for cystic fibrosis. So make sure if you're interested in doing a hike and participating in something that's really extreme, definitely check out CF organization, Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and how you can participate as well. All right, I see a picture of you on top of a mountain over here. I think that's you right
Oh,
there.
yeah,
You
that was
made
last
it. You made
summer.
it.
Yeah, yeah, that one was actually not hiked. We took a little tram up to the top, but, um, we
Way
love
to
the
be
mountains.
transparent. Good.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta get there either way you can, because that
Right,
experience
right.
on a mountaintop is what you're after. But, yeah, no, we just love being out in nature and hiking, and really, we've done a lot over the last couple of years. COVID presented, it was a respiratory,
Right.
virus, and when you have a kid who's particularly susceptible to respiratory things, having a chronic respiratory disease, you get really super careful, or we did at least, and so
Yes,
we just
we did too.
bubbled for 3 years.
Same here.
And but one thing we did do is we went out west. We drove out west and we stayed really self-contained and camped and did some really fun family things together so that we could be outside and make good use of the time. And I will always be grateful that we had those trips. So that was last summer.
Yeah, that's awesome. And
Yeah, yeah.
anytime we get a chance to do outdoor activities, we do it as well.
Oh,
This
look
is
at your
at
beautiful family.
Stone Mountain with some of my children here, and they love, like, my one son Jeremiah loves fishing, so we're always looking for water and creeks and things that we can be able to participate in like that. And we made it to the top. That was, I think, Crowder's Mountain there,
Yeah, looks like
and that took me a minute to get up there, but we made it. That's
it. You should
actually
come
where I
hike
saw
with
the
us.
huh.
You should come hike with us.
Oh,
Do the
30
extreme
miles.
hike.
I'm gonna cheer for you. I'm just not lying. I have 2 sons that do wanna join in on the extreme hike for sure.
Yeah,
They
good.
already, I think, train and do all kind of stuff to prepare for these moments in life. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, it definitely does take training.
now I know that you also have you're involved in things from a clinical trial perspective. You're also representing, I think it's District 14,
Mhm.
and a lot of different hats that you wear. I would like for you, when we come back from this commercial break, to just talk about some of your political, I guess that's the right word, political standpoints on being able to bring notice and awareness and even solutions to cystic fibrosis. When we come right back, everyone, right after this next commercial break. And I have someone backstage helping me, but she must not be knowing what I'm saying, go to break. So I shall take us to break right now. We'll be
I
back.
have peace of
I'll
mind
be
with
back.
Silver Shield Security, which has been protecting my family and home, along with servicing the Carolinas for over a decade. Silver Shield Security knows the importance of convenience and safety. Whether you live in an apartment, a home, or run a business, they are here to protect you from unwanted intrusions and fires. Call now at 704-440-4688 or visit the website at www.silvershield-security.com. You can use my promo code #ToneX and get 1/2 off your installation price. Don't forget to ask about the new no money down options. Let Silver Shield Security help to give you peace of mind, just like me and my family, and keep your business safe.
Right, everyone, we're back and we're talking with Rebecca Lewis today here on the Kim Jacobs Show. She's a mom that has a child that battles and kicks cystic fibrosis in the head, and that's her daughter Caroline. And she represents CF at a whole different level. So, talk to us about how you go to extremes yourself, not just in hiking, but even as a mom advocate.
Sure, I've always loved politics, and so it's always just been something I've been passionate about and paid attention to. And so when I learned that you could do some legislative advocacy within the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. That was a really exciting thing for me. So it was a way that I could give back and do a little bit more. And I have just a tremendous community of people around me, and I just thought it just takes our voices, to raise those concerns up to legislators. And so, through Facebook and other ways, I've just, helped people to know what the issues are, and then helped equip them with the verbiage to go to our legislators to advocate for what our kids with CF need, and adults now as well with CF, so that we have policies in place that really help support them from a healthcare perspective, and various other things. So I'm really proud of all the work we've done to help raise awareness, and get some really important things pushed through at the state and national level. Yeah.
And are you seeing actual change from your perspective? Because I actually, I know two of my children spoke before Congress, and they spent like the full day of, I had them, ready. These are the two right here that spoke, Jeremiah and Jayla. They sat in front of their computer and in their own individual rooms, and they were fighting for the Pasture Act to be actually approved, and met with Congress, and people constantly coming through, and they were just sharing why they believe they should sign off on this particular bill. So I felt like it was a very productive day. Do you feel like you're seeing some change when you're doing what you're doing?
I mean, I feel like people are listening, which is important. And I feel like people care to hear the constituent voices. And I think that's the first thing. I think political change is really slow. It takes time. It takes a layering of effort. So it's just something, it's a marathon and not a sprint. And we have to just slowly chip away at those things that really matter to us and help raise awareness. And I think also sometimes we need to broaden the scope for our elected officials. I mean, they are there to listen and to, consider all the various opinions and needs, and to, make policy that really helps support their constituents. And so
I love that.
I think it takes time, and I think we have to be patient about it, and we have to take small wins sometimes that will eventually get us to the bigger wins. And so, but I feel like the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation does an amazing job of advocacy, and there are so many passionate people that are willing to use their voices to raise the concerns and get the attention that our kids need. And so I'm very thankful for that.
I am too. And I'm thankful for moms like you that are out here being an advocate and willing to use your your voice, your business acumen, everything to be able to push it in the direction of trying to find a cure. So I'm really honored that you're here today. And Stephanie said that you can visit, let me put my reading glasses on here. You can visit WNC Extreme, the XTREME hike.org. Now that's WNCXTREME hike.org. That's for the podcast listeners too, who's not seeing the screen. So I do have iHeartRadio and Spotify and all of those. So I want to make sure that you all know where to go. If you're interested in learning more about the extreme hike, make sure you go to WCExtremehike.org and you can register for the next upcoming hike. Another question that someone has is, how do you know if you have cystic fibrosis? Sharika wanted to know.
Yeah, so now across the country, and this is another thing the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation really pushed hard to get, was newborn screening. So when kids are born, they are tested at birth for some of the major, genetic diseases like sickle cell anemia, cystic fibrosis, and some others that are, if diagnosed at birth, are very treatable with the correct, treatments and so forth. But there are a lot of kids, just like Kim's kids, that were diagnosed later in life. And the old wives' tale was that if you kissed your child and they tasted of salt, then that was the diagnosis, essentially, of cystic fibrosis. And I remember, and still, even now, sometimes I kiss Caroline and I'm like, oh, it's like a salt.
All right. Now, all of my children that do have it are like very salty tasting, but I never paid attention to it before. I just thought, oh, you need to go wash. You're salty. And I thought about it as a disease state.
Right. So that, I mean, I think the salt and then just the lung complications are a lot of times the things that people are, most attuned to and seem to kind of throw the early red flags of
Right.
possibly having the CF gene.
Yeah. And then another thing, Sharika, too, is even if you don't know if you have it or not, there's like the sweat gland test that you can always have that requested
Right.
and identify if you actually do have, or you or someone you know has cystic fibrosis. And that's what all of my children and as well, I'm sure
Yeah.
Rebecca's child, Caroline, was tested in some regard through the sweat gland test, is how they ultimately determined.
Yeah. And funny enough, that is the gold standard test, not the genetic test, but the sweat test.
The sweat
I
test
don't
is the
get
gold.
that.
I don't understand that either, but
Mm.
it's okay. It's not for
Yeah.
me to understand everything. I'm coming into the knowledge of the truth. But one thing I will tell you too about cystic fibrosis for everyone watching is there people often have the question, well, is cystic fibrosis contagious? Is that something that other people can catch? And the answer is no, it's not a disease that is contagious to the general public. But what does happen is that typically, if you ever saw the movie, like I think it was 5 Feet Apart or something, the people that have cystic fibrosis typically are not allowed to be within a certain proximity of each other because they have different varying versions of CF and they can actually cause problems for each other. So the goal for them is to kind of stay apart. And usually parents will do research and say, hey, is there another child in the school or another child that's going to be in the classroom of where my child is, because they cannot, two CFers aren't supposed to, according to the research, be together.
Yeah, that's right. And that presents an interesting conundrum for parents because, a lot of times your kids are what unify you with other parents, and you can't just like get your families together to hang out and like get to know each other. It's so events like the hike and various things really do give you the opportunity to connect with some other folks. But yeah, I think that's a challenge for sure. And even the kids with CF, I think they find that. Um, unless they have a sibling where they can kind of communicate, it's really
Right.
tough to connect with other kids with CF. But the foundation, again, has jumped in to really help support the network of kids and young adults with cystic fibrosis by engaging them, connecting them virtually. Thank goodness we have the technology to do that
Yes.
and make it a safe interaction. And that has been just a really great blessing, so that kids have some sort of peer support.
Yeah, that's really good. The virtual connection is just something that I think is very honorable, and I'm grateful that they're doing that. So that's really good. And just so many other resources that are available as well is really making a difference for CF patients. Now, let's talk too about the fact that there is these blockbuster products that are out here.
Oh, yeah.
And I know for my children, that has made a world of difference.
Good.
All three of my children use Simdeco or Simdeco. I'm not sure the correct pronunciation, but that has been a game changer for them in how well they function and their lung function results. How about on your end?
Yeah, so Caroline has she's on Trikafta, which is the latest version. They've gone through some iterations since they came out with, I think it was Kalydeco, then Orkambi, Symdeko, and now Trikafta. And it's just been constant improvement to a drug that, works. Each drug works differently for different people. And so
Right.
we're very thankful to have Trikafta. Caroline, for the longest time, in her whole life, she's 13 now, had to do 2 breathing treatments a day,
Mhm.
one in the morning, one at night. They're about 45 minutes apiece. She wore that shaky vest, or we did manual chest PT, which means we just beat on her chest
Mhm.
and to help loosen the mucus. At her last visit with her doctor, he said, you can drop a treatment because this Trikafta is so effective. And if you have physical exercise, swimming, dance, something where you're really getting your heart rate up and breathing
Mhm.
hard, well, you can drop the other treatment. And I mean, for a 13-year-old, she just got like her life back. 2 hours a
Yes.
day were being spent doing breathing treatments and have been for her whole life. And now she has all this time in a day to be a kid and to do the things kids do and not worry about all the time that she has to spend just keeping herself healthy. And
Yeah.
I'm beyond grateful for that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an amazing time. It's never, you never want to say it's an amazing time to have cystic fibrosis because there are still a lot of things that kids with CF could have
Right.
happen. And I know kids that are still struggling, are still having to go to the hospital and on IV antibiotics and those kind of things. It's not a cure-all, but
That's
it
right.
has really changed the game for kids with CF
Yes.
in a big way.
Yeah, that's it. It has for my definitely for my daughter in particular, because most times she would be in the hospital. We go for a 10-day stay, and then she would still be with the home health nurse, and I got the training and different things like that as well. But then technically missing a full month of school at
Sure.
that time. So it was just that's just a standard thing that was happening. That 10 days in for the IV antibiotics through the PIC line, getting the bronchoscopy where the lungs are being suctioned out from all of that mucus building
Mhm.
up, then coming home for another 2 to 3 weeks with the PIC line so that more IV antibiotics can be put in it. That's a life of
Yeah,
at least for with my child that has cystic fibrosis. That's the respiratory component. But then there are those that have the feeding tubes and the pancreatic issues, and they are having to deal with that all the time. So
right.
this is just an enlightening episode, everyone, to be able to just educate people on more about cystic fibrosis awareness. And I did want to I want to pull up something just so you'll see. I think I still I'm gonna pull this up for a second. It's actually something that my son went through a lot, and he recently lost about 100 pounds and went through this whole personal journey, over 300 pounds. And he was like he had back surgery. He was playing football, and he really wanted to get this weight off of him. And I want to just play this for a second.
Always ask people, what if the opposition and adversity that you've been dealt isn't even about you? What if the challenges you're facing are not even about you? What if it's to bring somebody else closer to God? What if it's to improve somebody else's relationship with God? What if it's to fortify somebody else's faith through the way that you handle the opposition and adversity and respond to it? Like, I firmly believe when we deal with things and
Wow.
That inspires me, and so many cystic fibrosis parents reach out to my son Ivan, who now, because I don't know if he's inspired by them being inspired by him, or I don't know what's happening, but the point is he's been one of the cystic fibrosis ambassadors. Boomer Esiason Foundation
Cool.
actually sponsors him as one of the CF warriors, that is the student warrior, because he's a student at UNC Charlotte. Then he also has inspired people through getting NASM certified. So now he's National Association of Sports Medicine certification in personal training, and he's helping other people on their weight loss journey, right? I am thoroughly impressed that this guy who got diagnosed at the age of 17 years old and threw in the towel, Rebecca. I'm saying he threw in the towel, and I don't want to start crying, but yeah, he was devastated that he had found out after all the research that he had done on his sister having it, getting A's on his paper about cystic fibrosis, for his brother to pass away, who didn't we don't know if he had cystic fibrosis because we didn't even know the other ones had it, right?
Yeah.
But when his brother passed away, he started playing football in honor of his brother. And every football game, he would have to get rushed to the emergency room right afterwards. And we
Wow.
were like, what is this? Why does he have to go and get IV fluids every time he plays football? He had never played football. It wasn't his sport. He played basketball. So we didn't have any reason for him to get rushed because he wasn't salt depleted. But come to find out, he was getting salt depletion at the age of 17, Rebecca. And guess what? That's how we were able to find out that he ultimately was a person that has cystic fibrosis.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
We
And
wouldn't
for
have
him
even known.
and for him to just take that on
Mhm.
and then do something about it, and just build his health up to where it is now,
Yeah.
that's tremendous. I mean, there's a lot to be said for his strength of character, which
Yeah.
good for you, mom.
And he's inspiring a lot of other people now, and I'm just so proud of him. Very
Sure.
proud of him. So
Yeah.
I will put his website up too. He's one of today's episode sponsors, and
Oh,
it's
awesome.
majorpt.com majorpt.com. You all make sure you check out Ivan's site and learn more about his personal training services as well. And Jeremiah, even though he found out at the age of 13, he is also a superhero, in my opinion. He's an avid fisher and loves going out on the water and just being one with nature. He also does digital marketing and acting. So I'm just proud. I'm proud of the direction that they're going in their lives instead of just letting it overtake them, you know?
Right. Right. Right.
So, and he does digital marketing. So y'all check out jeremiahjjacobs.com, especially if you have some website needs. Though those are two of my sons that are entrepreneurial in nature, and they do kick cystic fibrosis in the head. I like to say kick it in the head because they're not embracing it and being like, oh, it's overtaking me. It's not overtaking them, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Rebecca, what, from your perspective as just a mom, not even a mom of CF, or mom of just a mom, a business owner, a wife, what advice do you give people just to be able to balance all of these different roles and responsibilities?
Oh, wow. I think, know your limits, right? And ask for help when you need to, and don't be afraid to let some things go. I mean, we are just constantly, feeling like things aren't done, but you have to just let that go. The laundry doesn't need to be done today. The house doesn't have to be picked up today. There's a lot that just kind of happens when there's time for it to happen around
Good.
here. And then I think that it's really tough. I think when you have kids, or just in life, it's tough anymore just to take care of yourself. And I really struggle with making myself a priority. But I think that is really important. And just the little ways you can do that day in and day out matter. And you just have to put the big rocks in first. What has to happen today?
Yeah.
I listen to a podcast sometimes, and she talks about, 3 things. Make sure you have 3 things on your list and get those 3 things done. Anything else, put that on tomorrow's list for the 3 things. And when I narrowed it down to that, I felt like it was doable.
Yeah. I talk about that often as well. I have my 3 top priorities, and then what I do is a carryover. So once I get those things done, I get those done in the part of the day that I have the most energy, because my energy level will go whoop and I'm ready to take a nap, or it's like, that's it for the day, I'm done. So I put those top 3 priorities, and then if whatever can't get done, or I don't choose to get it done that day, I carry it over to the next day. And it may not even be the priority on the next day, right? Because the next day brings its own ball of challenges again.
Yeah.
So it might not even be the top priority on the next day, but force ranking some of these things in our lives, it really does make a difference when we're trying to balance life. And speaking of balance anyway, I have a philosophy that even when things don't look like they're in balance from any outside perspective, doesn't mean that you're not in balance or in alignment with what is supposed to be happening in our lives, It's just that may not be the priority at that moment, comparatively speaking, with what else needs to be done.
Yeah. Yeah. And just being confident in where you find your balance to say to all the other, outside observers,
Opinions.
this is all I can do right now, and this is enough.
And being transparent though, Rebecca, about that, and saying, I know what I'm able to put on as a load on me. I'm good. And so right now, that's it. I'm going to take a break and take me time for a minute and recalibrate or whatever you need to do to make sure you become the best version of yourself, to be able to be a mom of Baker, or a mom of Caroline, or Frankie, Ivan, Jeremiah, Jayla, Gabe. I have a whole crew of names here. I probably left one out, but anyway, Frankie, Ivan, Jeremiah, Jayla, and Gabe in heaven. Right. Okay. I always include Gabe no matter what. Even when I sign cards, I still say from Gabe in heaven, because he's still my son,
Always will be. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, we're going to take another commercial break and come back, and we're going to see and learn some more about Rebecca Lewis. I think you're learning quite a bit about you today.
Oh, this is really fun.
Are you enjoying yourself?
I am. Yeah. I'm enjoying hearing from you too. I think that CF moms just don't get enough time together. So yeah.
That's true. That's true. So, okay, so we're going to take a commercial break. We're going to come right back and learn more and hear more from Rebecca Lewis. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Confidence Tones, where we use a proprietary audio development formula called audio immersion to provide an experience that's designed to help quickly and effortlessly generate positive change in the subconscious mind when used correctly. This experience is achieved using 4 primary building blocks: brainwave modulation, invocation of positive emotions, immersive imagination stimuli, and developmental suggestion. We know of no other source in the world that provides the synergistic combination. With a good pair of headphones, you'll be able to immerse yourself into audio that's designed specifically to help you feel better, do better, and live better.
And we're back and we're talking with Rebecca Lewis. If you want to learn more about confidence tones, you can reach out to Dr. Joe D. Bear, America's top health coach, at 800-820-0584, or you can visit her at drjod.com. All right. So, Rebecca, a business for 18 years, right? You've successfully been running that. Talk to us about your business some.
Oh, sure. Well, I'm actually second generation in a business. My mom started a company years ago that was a representation group for educational publishers. And so just when my husband was in graduate school, my mom was 45 minutes down the road. So I came to work for her. I told her, I said, I'll just come for a year and help you. I said, but I do not want to sell. And she said, that's fine. You can come work for me and just do what I tell you to do. And I said, that's fine. And so she would tell me to go see this person. And she'd say, it's not about you, it's about them and what they see in the resources that, we sell literacy materials for elementary schools. So reading for the most part. And so over the years, my mom retired, I guess it was about 7 or 8 years ago, maybe, I'm not sure. And I was gradually taking over the business while she was winding down, and just have continued it. And I'm just really proud of the work we do. We support school systems now with elementary reading programs that support, the science of reading the way we're supposed to learn to read as we need to in elementary schools to really help set our kids up for success. And, kids need to be confidently reading. And I'm proud that we help support that in our state. So we just work in North Carolina.
I am so proud of your mom, and I'm really proud that she passed the baton to you and you're continuing the family legacy. Congratulations. That's honorable.
She is a rock star for sure.
I can tell. Now, how do people learn more about you and stay connected with you? Because I didn't put your social media handles or anything in here.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook, and my website is ncliteracy.com. That's just kind of a shell for the publishers that we represent in North Carolina.
ncliteracy.com. I'm just going to put under our today's topic, everyone. I put there ncliteracy.com. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. ncliteracy.com is how you can stay connected with Rebecca Lewis and be able to learn more about her literacy work that her and her mom have worked collaboratively on, and she's now carrying the torch. And also, again, if you're interested in being a part of the Cystic Fibrosis Extreme Hike, I want to pop that back up again as well. Go to ncextremehike.org, and anytime you can connect with Stephanie Cherry, you definitely don't want to miss that opportunity. She is such a delight to work with, and she can educate you thoroughly on cystic fibrosis. Now, let's see. I see some more comments, and maybe we can get a chance to answer some of these. Good morning, ladies. I am watching to learn more about CF, especially having 3 grandchildren. This is my mom who is on saying that because she has my children, and she is so heavily involved in their care. My mom goes to you're talking about extreme. There should be like extreme grandparents, extreme parents. This woman makes sure that she cooks the way that they need food cooked and prepared to meet their needs. She's just so attentive to everything that they stand in the need of when they're at the hospital or had to be at the hospital, whatever. She's always there visiting and taking taking care of the others while I'm doing what I need to do. It's just the grandparents are incredible, aren't they?
Yeah, what a gift. I mean, and what a way to support your family. That is tremendous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it takes so much to really, I don't know, to feel supported and also to support a family when it's not always really clear how to support them. But
Right.
showing up, hands down, always a win, right?
Yeah.
And then a meal, always a win. And just being there when the road gets hard is I mean, family can just they're nothing like them. So and your friends that are your family for sure too.
That's right. And
Yeah.
speaking of balance for a second here, look over here. My
Oh,
hero is like, I'm right here near you, mom. So it's like I
that's
can't get it.
great.
We're balancing our lives for real, right?
Yeah, for
Anyway,
sure. Yeah.
how people can support cystic fibrosis, any other ideas and thoughts? I know I think that people can support by signing off on any initiatives. When you see petitions that are out there
Mhm.
and things like in with the Pasture Act, for example, they just needed some signatures to be able to say, hey, antibiotic care that can happen in the home instead of having to have to go and do a bunch of hospital
Mhm.
stays. Any of these, any kind of acts that are out there that are available, and we ask for signatures, please sign off on those petitions. Please.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are some other ways you think, Rebecca, too?
Well, there's so many events and activities throughout the year that you can plug into. There's a walk, there are, there's a brewer's ball, there's the hike, there's a cycle event. I mean, there are just so many things that you can be a part of, and you don't even have to necessarily, buy a ticket. You could
Yeah.
volunteer. You can get in touch with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation locally. You could like their Facebook page nationally. And just stay in the know, I think, because the more
Yes.
people that know and share the messaging is important because it's like a network. When I think about when I share something, one of the most meaningful things that someone can do for me is to share it with their network.
That's
And
right.
so when I'm asking for folks to call their legislators to, advocate for the Pasteur Act, like you mentioned, well, I'm only reaching the people I know, but if you can expand
Right.
that, that is such a way to help. And that takes all of 2 seconds to just
Yeah.
share something and ask for people to call. And then, I think that there are a lot of folks out there too that are hesitant about what to say. And so
Right.
don't hesitate to ask, like, give me a script, tell me what I should say if I call my legislators. I've never done that before.
Right.
Um, the people that answer the phones talk to everyone and they're glad to hear from us.
That's
So
right.
just encouraging people to pick up the phone is half the battle right there.
And the events are like epic, just so you all know. Every
Yeah.
event that
Yeah.
I've ever attended with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation is fun. I mean, they have them at the different local bars, and you're out hanging out in the yard doing some horse throws. And those, what are those things? Those
Oh,
where people
corn throw or cornhole
cornhole.
or
Yeah, it's
horseshoes.
fun stuff.
Yeah. There's
It's
all
so
kinds
much
of fun
fun. And
things.
then all of these different representatives are regular community members. You don't have to have a child that even has cystic fibrosis or even know somebody with CF, but because maybe you watch this episode and you're like, man, I really want to get involved with helping these children be able to live longer and breathe more and have a better quality of life, you can become an advocate and actually volunteer and have people that you now expose to cystic fibrosis. And that happens. I've met some people, quite a few people that don't have anybody that they know that have cystic fibrosis, and yet they've raised some of the largest amounts of
Yeah.
money for the CF Foundation. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like those people just really they have this conscious effort that I'm going to make a difference in this world and I'm
Mhm.
going to find a place where my effort can support their mission and make a
Yeah.
difference for whoever it impacts. And I am always in awe of people when I say, "What's your connection to cystic fibrosis?" And they say, "I don't really have one." And I'm just like, "Well, let me introduce you to Caroline." And this is a picture of
Yeah.
Caroline
Let
and
me
her
put that up.
doctor.
Caroline and her doctor.
Yeah, she adores her doctor so much. He is the best. And
Yeah. And see, I would end up begging to differ because my children have the best doctors
yeah,
as well. And I love them. I think that they are
yeah,
just doing such a great job acting almost as if my children are their children, you know?
yeah,
That's the
yeah.
level of care that these physicians provide, right?
Right. They see, I think about, especially when we were in clinical trials at UNC for Caroline, we saw the people and the pediatric care team and Caroline's doctor more often than we saw our own friends and family. And
No.
we'd go and spend hours with them. And it was just, they become your
And he looks
family.
like he's part of the family. He's like,
He
hey,
is.
this is my niece right here. And
Right.
that's exactly how I think every doctor that I've encountered that deals with cystic fibrosis has that level of care. Dr. Chada and Dr. Champion and Shell they love my children. And
Right.
so when I call and they're like, they know, oh, what's going on? It's like they care. They're not just
Yeah.
acting because of a specific job that they're in. They take the time to step in and really show some care.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about this picture.
Yeah, so this CF community is so supportive, and a good friend of ours in Rutherford County organized a bike, a bikeathon where 20 miles on a rail trail in Rutherford County. Beautiful day, and Stephanie let some of us here in Charlotte know about it, and we went up to support this first year of this event, and that was just
Aw.
really wonderful. And this is our family out on the West Coast last year. This is in July on Mount Rainier.
I love that.
Yeah, it was snow and it was really cool. So
Oh man, we went
try
to
to balance living life.
Teton Village in Wyoming, Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Yeah.
That was fun too, but it was like it was warm everywhere else, but it was cold there. Tell us about
Right.
this picture too.
Yeah, so that's my husband Joe in the middle, and he's a rock star. He has done, I think he's on his 25th or 26th extreme hike. He does it pretty much spring and fall every year. He's a coach, that's him with Carolina Baker, and we're also proud of him. He had every time you finish a hike, or even if you don't finish, because sometimes that happens, you get a pin that
Oh,
memorializes that effort. And so,
that's what those are, the pins.
yeah. So our
Oh,
good friend,
congratulations, Joe. Thank you
yeah,
for being a dad that is representing and kicking CF in the head on behalf of Caroline. I'm so honored that you're here. Even I know you're not here presently with us, but you're here representing in this extreme hike. And wow, not all dads
yeah,
are willing to do that, but you're stepping up, young man. Thank you.
yeah. He certainly did. Yeah.
I'm so proud of you and your
Yeah.
entire family and your story
Thank
that you
you.
shared here on the show today. I
Thank
am also honored that my children, Ivan, Jeremiah, and Jayla, were able to be CF ambassadors this year, and they were able to help raise $2.2 million with the
Wow.
Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, along with all of the different people that have just done amazing work with the CF Foundation. And so I'm honored that because they keep us busy. It's like it's a lot of activities and festivities and events and so forth.
Mhm.
So we're in gowns and different places,
Yeah.
but that's the three of them for the cystic fibrosis guys and dolls event. It was a whole doll dress up event. Jayla had on sneakers. She was like, "What is all of this garb I have on today?" And then Ivan was receiving the award that they were given for being CF ambassadors. Is that you, Stephanie, over there? Hey, we love you, love you, love you. All right,
Oh,
so
great
those are
picture.
just some pictures, and their grandma was in the picture there as well. All right, that's today's episode. I hope that you feel a
Thanks,
little more
Kim.
educated about cystic fibrosis, everybody.
Thank you so much for sharing our stories, our common story, and just allowing this time. This is really a gift to both of us. And thank you for all you do to bring attention to CF. And that one day, this is what I keep right at my desk. We will stay in it until it's done. And
That's
we're all committed
good.
to that.
Stay in
So,
it until it's done. And this is one that I have right here on my desk.
look,
And
I've got the same one. And they're your beautiful children right in the middle.
yeah,
I
those
loved
are
it.
mine. But
Yeah,
all of these children that
they
are
are.
kicking cystic fibrosis in the head,
Right.
most importantly, keep all of them in prayer because they need your prayers, their families, the caregivers, the people that are fighting to get research and development to bring it to closure, all need your prayers. So please keep anything pertaining to CF in your prayers, and more than just pray, act. Donate to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, please, and help bring this cause to fruition. Okay. All right. Rebecca, thank you. Any closing comment? You know how you don't want to end the show? I don't want to end. Oh my God.
I know, right? No, but thank you for considering the mission of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and just for all that folks do to support it. It is it's everything to us as parents to know that people care about our kids and want to make CF stand for Cure Found.
Yes. Yep. And I don't think we're any different than any other moms. That's my other thing I'll say. I think that we are moms. A mom is a mom, and we love our children. And no matter what they have been diagnosed with, we just want to be able to be the best parent advocates that we can to give them the best quality of life. And I think that's what any mom that I know anyway wants to do for any of their children, regardless of whether they've been diagnosed with the disease or not. So just be in this happy Mother's Day to you.
To you too.
and continue to just be what God called you to be. I'm grateful to know you. Very grateful.
Likewise.
All right. Y'all stay connected with her, ncliteracy.com. Go to the extreme hike information that we already shared throughout today's broadcast. Also visit cff.org, cff.org, to learn more about the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation and find your local chapters that are near you. And I think we answered as many questions as we could today. Thank you all for tuning in. And Rebecca, stay backstage for one quick second if you can. And I will see you all tomorrow. Guess what? Tomorrow is Freestyle Friday here on the Kim Jacobs Show. We have 3 of our Freestyle Friday experts that'll be joining us and focusing everything on moms. So if you want to send in a picture, you can do that of you and your mom. We'll pop it on the screen, and you can send that to kimjacobsshow@gmail.com. But there are going to be some self-care tips for you, some mental health tips, and how to have some joy as a mom. All right. We will see you all tomorrow at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on the Kim Jacobs Show. Have a great one. Bye, Rebecca. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Kim Jacobs Show, and for being in the virtual studio audience. Your presence truly does make a difference, and I look forward to you bringing your friends and family to join you in the virtual studio audience Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I look forward to seeing you.